Welcome back to Sawteeth Tactical and episode 4 of the Dream Rifle build series. We started this build in episode 1 with the ADM UIC ambi lower receiver. This is a great base to build a really good rifle off of. Episode 2, we installed the Geissele super dynamic enhanced trigger and the Radian Talon ambidextrous safety. Also, the B5 Systems Type 23P grip. In episode 3, we installed the Geissele Super 42 buffer system with an H2 buffer and the B5 Systems Bravo stock. Now we're at episode 4, and I've got some really exciting stuff for you guys. So make sure you're subscribed, and let's start this build. So if you've seen some of the shorts that I've been posting, you probably already know what we're gonna add to the rifle this week. I've got the Vltor MUR modular upper receiver, and this is a really nice upper. It's gonna go great with the ADM lower. And then I've also got an Eotech XPS2 in OD green. We're gonna unbox these. We're gonna install them. This thing is coming along great. I've also got a Forward Controls Designs EPC or ejection port cover, also in OD green. I know that I said that this build was gonna take like a year to get all the parts because I wanted to use good high-end parts for it. But I just can't seem to help myself. There's been great sales going on for Labor Day, and I just keep ordering parts. I got a bunch of new stuff coming for next week too. So this thing is coming along very quickly. Let's take a look up close at what we got today. Take it out of the boxes, install it, and we'll see where we're at. So as you see, we are pretty much done with the lower at the moment. Although I did order an FCD castle net to replace the mil-spec one that came with the Geissele buffer system. Just because it's dimpled and it's in OD green, and I think it'll look cool. And looking cool kind of is important. So let's get this out of the way. And here we have the Vltor modular upper receiver, or MUR. I've heard people call it MUR. Let's open this thing up. I have already pulled this out of here. In fact, I've already installed the EPC from FCD. This is actually the Vltor ejection port cover that came with it. This was different than the installation would be on a standard mil-spec upper receiver. So just so that you guys do know, basically the rod that holds this thing in is backwards. There's a little C-clip right there that needs to be pushed off, and then you can slide that rod out and install your new ejection port cover. I didn't know exactly how I was going to do this. Most things online said that you had to push out these roll pins and remove your forward assist in order to be able to, remove the original ejection port cover and switch it out with a different one. Luckily, I asked a question in a Facebook group. It was Meal Team 6.1 mid-tier rifle builders. Those guys have a ton of knowledge. A lot of people answered my question. Most of them said to remove the forward assist to do it. But I had one guy that private messaged me, and he told me how to do it the right way, and I really appreciate that, and I was able to get it done. But when we look at this upper receiver, there are a few things about it that are different from a standard upper receiver. You can tell it doesn't just quite look like your regular run-of-the-mill mil-spec upper. For one, the walls on it are thicker, which of course helps strength and rigidity, making your rifle more accurate for one thing, because your barrel attaches directly onto here, and so the more rigid this is, the more accuracy that you can have in your barrel. It also has the forward assist is farther forward than it would be on a regular upper. So when you go to pull your charging handle, say you are pulling it from the right side, Well, your forward assist isn't going to get in the way of your fingers like it does on most uppers, which is really nice. It also is billet, and so it just looks cool, which I think will match well with this billet lower receiver. Again, these are the two black parts that I'm going with, are the receivers and pretty much OD green for just about everything else. Now, if you do switch out your ejection port cover for the forward controls one, it is going to be a very, very tight fit. I've talked to some people and they say that over time it does kind of break in, but this thing is very difficult to open and close at the moment. I'm sure with more and more use, it will break in. They do advertise this upper as compatible with all mil-spec parts. So, and it does fit, as you can see, obviously. The ejection port door that comes with the Vltor MUR is polymer, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with it. It works just fine, but if I'm building my dream rifle, I really want all the parts that I really want, and this was one of the first things that I ordered, and so I had to be able to install it on this. Now let's take a look here, because we've got an Eotech XPS2. This is an optic that I've been very excited about getting. So, here we go. This is in OD green as well. It's already got a scratch on it because I had it in my closet and I had a guy working in my crawl space and he knocked it over. Is what it is. Check it out. The camera doesn't really show the reticle very well from here, but it is that donut of death reticle. And the Eotech is a true holographic weapon sight. So it doesn't use an LED to, reflect your reticle off of the front window like a red dot does, which means that your reticle is not quite as clear and crisp, and it also means that it takes a lot more battery power to run this optic. But if you're using it the right way, you are target focused. You're not focusing in on your reticle. And so the fact that the reticle is made up of a bunch of lasers reflected off of a bunch of mirrors and stuff, holographic weapon sight technology is very interesting, but it's very different and much more complex than a red dot. It's part of the reason why it uses more battery. The battery life isn't quite as good as it would be with a red dot. And also the reticle is not going to be quite as crisp and clear, but that's not a big deal. These are battle-proven optics. Eotechs have been used by our war fighters for years and years and years, and there's a lot of great things about them. For one, you could just see just how robust it is. You've got this giant hood over it that protects it, and also because the front window isn't something that needs to be reflected off of for the reticle to be visible. If you break the front window, this thing will still work. You'll still be able to use it. It also has no parallax whatsoever, so any position you're in, as long as you can see your reticle, you will be on target. It has a huge window and it's clear. You don't need any reflective coating in order to make that reticle work. In fact, it has an anti-reflective coating so that you won't have any glare that gives away your position, if you were using this in some type of battle situation. Now the XPS2, which is what this one is, has the buttons on the back instead of on the sides, and it also doesn't have the QD system on the bottom. It just attaches to a 1913 Picatinny rail, like many other things do, but it's not QD, which is all right. I think I'm eventually going to have it on top of a Unity mount or a Unity riser just to get it up a little higher, and we'll probably put a magnifier behind it at some point, probably an Eotech one, but that might be a little bit down the road. We've got other things to spend money on first, like barrels. But anyway, Eotech, this thing is sweet. So let's get all this stuff installed. Now I know I've mentioned this in past build series videos, but YouTube won't let us show building guns on their platform. So again, through the magic of video editing, and here we are. We've got the upper on our lower. You can see the thicker walls of the modular upper receiver there work very well with this ADM lower because it's actually thicker. They're both billet. And I've seen that this upper on some lowers kind of is wider than this part of a mil-spec lower, but with this one, it works perfectly. There is literally no play in it. And even if there was, there's a hole in the bottom of this grip where you can access a bolt or a screw that'll actually tighten down on your upper to really make it so that there's no play in it. Yeah, you can hear that. There's a little bit right now, so I will make that adjustment on it at some point. Probably once I have the whole rifle together. You can see the FCD ejection port cover. I just think it looks great. Add that little bit of Gucci factor and a little more OD green to match everything else. And then, of course, the Eotech on here looks fantastic as well. This thing is really coming together. The other cool thing about this upper receiver is you see this recess in it. It kind of fits the bolt release here very well. They kind of go really well together. Two totally different brands, but both billet, both black. Probably really the only black parts I'm going to have on here besides like barrel, muzzle device, things like that. Everything else is going to pretty much be OD green. But this thing is looking really good now. So check out the Dream Rifle build so far. This thing is really coming along. I think that it's looking great. This is definitely nicer than any of the other rifles I've built. And while all of them work perfectly fine, I just wanted to have a really, really nice rifle. And so that's what I'm putting together this time. I hope you guys are enjoying this build series. If you have any questions about any of these parts or installation about any of them, be sure to let me know down in the comments. And also let me know which parts you would use if you were building your dream rifle. I would love to hear from you guys. I really enjoy interacting with you and I answer every comment. But here we are. Again, the lower is pretty much done, although I am going to change out this castle nut to the FCD dimpled one in OD green. Got the upper on here, the Eotech, the FCD EPC, and I've got more parts coming for next week. I've got a Geissele handguard coming. I've got the charging handle, bolt carrier group. We've got a lot of stuff to still do. Still need to get a barrel, muzzle device. Let me know also down in the comments. So this is going to be, I ordered a 13.5 inch handguard. And so I'm going to do a 14.5 inch barrel is what I've decided because I need to have enough room for that muzzle device. I want to pin and weld one that can also be a QD for a suppressor. And I want to make sure there's enough room there. And while I might be able to get away with 13.9 inches, I don't really want to find out that that didn't work when I go to get a can. So let me know if you guys have experience building a 14.5 or pin and weld or just whatever rifle, whatever barrel length, what muzzle device you use. I haven't decided on a suppressor yet. In fact, I'm going to wait until I finally get the suppressor for my 300 blackout approved before I decide on a 5.56 dedicated suppressor for this rifle. But I'm having a hard time figuring out which muzzle device to pin and weld to the barrel. And that's kind of an important decision. If you're going to pin and weld it on, it's going to be permanently attached, which of course makes it that legal 16 inches overall barrel length to be legally a rifle according to the ATF and not have to make it an NFA item. Now, of course, with the suppressor, it's going to have a tax stamp already anyway, but I'd like to keep it not a 2-stamp gun if I can, and at least until I get the suppressor, I won't need to deal with the NFA because, again, if you followed my channel, like the whole NFA process is something that I'm very frustrated with. You know, I've been waiting almost a year now. It's been 11 months waiting on the suppressor for my 300 blackout build. I did this build series like a year ago, and still waiting on the last part, which is the suppressor, which if you know anything about 300 blackout, that's kind of the whole point of it, is to suppress it. So I'm a little bit frustrated with the NFA process. But once I do get that can, maybe I'll start the process on the one for this. And suppressors are just something I don't know enough about yet. At least I don't know as much as I do about other gun parts. So if you do, let me know down in the comment what is the right muzzle device to use so that I have different options for suppressors, and also to make that 14.5 legally at 16 inches. And I'd like to not really go past 16 inches if I can help it. Kind of the whole point of the pin and weld thing is I want this rifle as short as possible while still being legally a rifle. Let me know what you guys think about this build so far. I hope you're enjoying following along. Make sure you're subscribed and make sure you hit that notification bell so that you don't miss any future episodes of the build series. And from Sawtooth Tactical, stay strapped to get clapped.